Men and women, welcome to CJ Unplugged. Diddy has been arrested in New York City, I believe this Sunday or Monday. What a tragic event. Unironically, uncoincidentally, my best friend was also in New York City at the same time. Had nothing to do with it, I promise. He was actually a mere handful of miles away from where he was arrested the same day. Very funny. But yes, we've been following this Diddy story for a long time. And by we, I mean the world. I have not. I have cared less. I mean, obviously what he did was bad, if everything alleged is true. This has happened since, I think this came out in like April or March, and it's been a hot topic for the press and celebrities and all sorts of stuff, but it's kind of been swept under the rug because of the political system with our election coming up. But he has just been arrested recently, and I guess he was brought to court or something. I'm not quite sure. There's some articles on it. But ironically, my best friend Nick was in New York City at the time, just a couple miles away from where he was arrested in New York City. But apparently here in this article, and I've seen this around on the internet, people making jokes about it, victims and sex workers participated in freak-offs. Very interesting. Nothing like a Diddy party, huh? The indictment alleges Combs, Sean Diddy Combs, that's his full name, held what he called freak-offs, which he drugged and coerced victims into extended sex acts with male sex workers. These freak-offs occurred regularly and sometimes lasted multiple days, the indictment states. Wow. Now obviously, who knows the age of these victims, if it was consensual or not, if there's drugs and alcohol involved, all sorts of terrible things. People are kind of comparing this to the Epstein things. This might just be Epstein 2.0. Who knows if he was who knows if he was also an informant trying to get videos of politicians and celebrities to blackmail them and corrupt them and doing what he wants. Now, I don't know what kind of plan Diddy had if he was going to run for president in 10 years, but clearly he was building up something for himself. It's really hard to take this story and this article seriously when everything's able to freak off. Law enforcement seized guns and freak-off supplies in the raid of his house. Freak-off supplies. I can take a guess of what that might be, but there's some pictures here of just a bunch of I don't know what he needed guns for. The number of victims is unclear. Law enforcement seized guns, ammo, drugs, and a huge collection of baby oil and lubricant. Now, this article, I think, came out this weekend in his home in Miami and Los Angeles. Law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including drugs and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. This dude single-handedly had the baby oil. What is that? Johnson & Johnson? Do they make baby oil? Their stock probably was going up that month, dude. Check on it now. Probably not doing great. When you have a story like this come out against your company when a very bad person was using your supplies, usually not great for the company and the stock market, but this dude had 1,000 bottles of baby oil. What are they going to do with that? What do you do with all that baby oil now? I mean, I guess it's got to be evidence, but someone could use that baby oil. They seized a bunch of AR-15s with the face serial numbers, drum magazines, and apparently he would brandish guns to threaten police officers and people in general. So this guy didn't have a great business plan going. I don't know if they found any guns on Epstein's Island. We don't know anything about Epstein's Island, by the way. That's still a story from 2017 that we may never know, which is ridiculous. We're so focused on the wrong things right now with Trump and Harris and abortion and healthcare and all this stuff. Why don't we try to find out more about the Epstein victims and all that stuff? I mean, I'm 21 years old. I might die. I might die of old age before we ever find out. Like the JFK stuff, there's just so much the government has and knows that we'll never find out. When are we going to get a president that actually cares about the people? President of the people. It's going to release all this stuff. Now, the problem is everybody's in on it, right? Republicans, Democrats, independents, celebrities, politicians, movie stars, everybody. Everybody's been to that island, left, right, and center. So that's the problem. Is there's no whistleblower, because once someone whistleblows, everybody's going down. There's going to be no more trust in the system and the government. So that's why it's not being released. There's so many names on that list, and I just want that list to come out. I mean, there's like the flight logs or whatever, and people claiming like Bill Clinton was on that flight log like 90 times, and CNN made the articles were like, well, just because he's on the flight 97 times doesn't mean he's guilty. Okay, he only flew there 97 times. That doesn't mean he touched any minors. Okay, he was just going over there to party and hang out. But if Trump's on that list, of course, then Trump's a pedophile. But, I thought I addressed last week's episode. Unfortunately, I recorded the entire thing and the audio file got corrupted. I don't know what happened. I saved it in 2 different versions because we were having trouble figuring it out. I went home, and it was all botched. I recorded like 45 minutes, and the whole thing was unusable, both files. So I had to scrap that. The episode wasn't great. There wasn't a whole lot of news stories. We got a lot more juicy stuff this week with P. Diddy and some other New York City stuff and Israel. Juicy stuff. But yeah, last week kind of sucked. I'm sorry for missing that episode. I know you guys are all vastly disappointed. But a few things I talked about in that episode was obviously the long-awaited news, breaking news, shocking news that we all were waiting to hear, which was Taylor Swift endorsing a candidate. I know, shocking. She stayed quiet for quite a long time. I don't remember when she endorsed Biden last year, if it was early on or if it was later on. But she waited until September this year to finally endorse Kamala, which I thought was an insane story that must be covered. Nobody saw that coming. I thought she was going to endorse Nikki Haley, quite honestly, woman of power, white woman of power. So I didn't see that coming, Kamala Harris. But people often ask me who I'm voting for with the election coming up, and I'm a little political on the podcast and in my personal life. So people always ask me who I'm voting for. I have to say I only vote for whoever the Avengers tell me to vote for. You know that video they make every election year with like Robert Downey Jr. and Mark Ruffalo, and I think Scarlett Johansson's on there, and they make that video of like a bunch of celebrities, a bunch of A-list celebrities and B-list, bunch of A and B-list celebrities coming together to say that one political candidate's really bad and a threat to democracy and the end of the world, so you must not vote for him, you must vote for the other side. And so whenever that video comes out every 4 years, that's who I vote for. I don't do any independent research. I don't look at any facts. I don't watch the news. I don't talk to family or friends. I don't have any ability to form thoughts of my own. I just vote for whoever Iron Man tells me to vote for every single year. So yes, I'm voting for whoever the Avengers tell me to vote for. And I think we all should do that. I think doing independent research and fact checking and just formulating your own thoughts and opinion is just horrible and racist and just not a good idea. I mean, look where it leads you to. End of democracy, threat to democracy. So yeah, I vote for whoever the Avengers tell me to vote for. And I mean, that's why they make the video. It's important. It's important. We should listen to them. These celebrities that are totally not disconnected from the world, living in their multi-million-dollar homes with probably some serious connections to pay less taxes and get more money and go to these parties and just enjoy their yacht on the weekends and live life totally average like the rest of us. So I take their advice because I want to be like them. I'm trying to be like them, okay? Whoever they're voting for, if I vote for that person, I might end up with a yacht and a $3 million home. So take my advice, take their advice. There you have it. On my way here, this is completely unrelated. I saw a man with an eye patch walking down the road. There's not much. That's pretty much it to the story. But yeah, he's walking down the road, little grass pirate, as what I like to call him, little land pirate. But yeah, I have not seen very many people with eye patches in my life. I had a doctor one time when I was doing a physical when I was 13 years old who had an eye patch. And I was kind of curious to know how he could still do his job and make sure I was all okay to play football with one eye. But probably the second man with an eye patch. I remember one time I was like 9 years old and I wore a fake eye patch. I think I put a fake bruise on my eye too. And every time someone would ask why I had an eye patch on, I'd flip it up and be like, huh! It was a dumb prank I did. I think it was Halloween, but we've all done that before. Shocking news, the war in Gaza is still happening with Israel and Hamas and now Hezbollah in Lebanon. The world is ending in the Middle East, as always. It always is. This is no shocker. But as of today, I think this just came out today or yesterday, Israel rigged pagers, hundreds and hundreds of pagers and radios to explode in Lebanon. I saw some of the videos, and I guess about a dozen people died and hundreds were injured. And this is obviously very sad. I do not make to joke about any of the victims or deaths or just this horrible war that's going on. But this idea that they still use pagers in the Middle East makes me never want to go there. On Tuesday, electronic pagers belonging to the members of Hezbollah became small bombs, exploding almost simultaneously across Lebanon. Killed at least a dozen people, a couple children, wounded thousands more, apparently. Okay. So that means there was probably at least thousands of these pagers, which I get the Middle East is not as developed and rich as the West, but why are we all still carrying around pagers? I thought that was like early 2000s, late 90s technology. I have not seen a pager in my entire life. I remember digging through a drawer at my parents' house looking for a charger, and I found this little thing. I was like, what is this? It looked like something out of Star Trek or something, and my parents told me about pagers. I had a little history lesson. Anyways, Hezbollah has blamed Israel for the attack, but Israel military has declined to comment. They privately claimed responsibility for the attack on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's the beginning of a new era in this war. The beginning of a new era. We should probably rephrase that. Using pagers isn't exactly a new era. We already had that era about 20 years ago. So maybe not a new era, but a revived era. We could use that. We could use revived instead, maybe. The two unprecedented attacks came at once when a ceasefire talk between Israel and Hamas in Gaza stalled, and tensions between them continue to grow. So obviously there was talk of a ceasefire, and we can't have that. We know the history of that. There's so much history with two-state and ceasefire, and oh my gosh, it's a mess over there. It's very sad and tragic. Don't have much more to say than that. I hope this war ends, which probably won't. This will just be another one that's going to last another 10 years that we have to fund. Israel's getting tricky and creative. Not great. Another fun story, I guess there was a giant turbulence session, if you will, in an airplane. Passengers scream and pray as tropical storm batters plane mid-flight. We saw that we were not going to survive. Well, you did, because you're writing a story about it, and obviously the plane landed and everybody's okay. There might have been minor injuries, but I've been on planes with such bad turbulence where I've fallen asleep on the plane or about to fall asleep, and there's shakes so bad that I thought we landed. I look out the window, I'm like, oh, that was quick. I look out, we are still 30,000 feet up in the air. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's not fun. That's not great. Turbulence is not fun. But here's a reminder, always wear your seatbelt. Have you seen these videos of these turbulence? There's a video here. When turbulence happens and you're not wearing your seatbelt, bam, you hit the ceiling, you break your neck. And then you come back down on your arm. Wear your seatbelt, okay? We're out of that era where it's like cool to not wear a seatbelt. And when I'm in a plane, I'm always wearing the seatbelt. If that turbulence hits, I'm not flying out of my seat onto the beverage cart, okay? I'm staying locked and loaded right where I am. I'm going to enjoy one of those little Biscoff cookies and a free can of soda that's like this tall. But yeah, wear your seatbelt. In an airspace, everyone can hear you scream. Yeah, what's new? Footage captured the dramatic moment that passengers freaked out aboard a plane that was getting battered by a tropical storm mid-flight. I've never experienced such bad weather. It was crazy. I don't even know why this is a story. 45 mile an hour winds. And then there's a video and picture of it. So yeah, this happens every single day. We're just getting softer and softer. The man invents the plane, and then we find a reason to complain and freak out and write a news story about it. Just wear your seatbelt, eat your Biscoff cookie, and listen to a podcast. Listen to this podcast on the plane. You could be listening to this section of the podcast right now while you're on a plane going to turbulence. And you can remember me saying, put your seatbelt on. You can tell everybody, CJ told me to put my seatbelt on. That's why I am okay. I don't have a fractured skull and a broken pinky. I guess we could talk about the debate. I think I talked about it last week in my episode. No, because the debate I don't remember. Anyways, the debate happened like a week and a half ago. It's now Wednesday as I record this. What an embarrassment to this country. It's just not looking great. I can't wait till in 4 years, right? Unless Harris runs again. But like in 4 years, there'll be no Biden and no Trump. If Trump loses, there's no way he runs again. There's just no way. The Republicans won't let him. The world will not let him. And I think personally, if he lost this election, he would not run again a third time. But it's going to be refreshing in 4 years to have completely new candidates. Hopefully Kamala Harris does not run. Don't see her doing a great job if she wins. Just saying. But it's going to be nice to have some new, fresh, hopefully much younger candidates if the world still exists. If the United States still exists in 4 years, which at the rate it's going, it might not. This podcast might end in November. Everything might end in November. I'm planning a trip in December to Hawaii, and that might not even happen. Who knows what November is going to look like? Who knows what December is going to look like, what we make it through? But stay positive. Spread kindness. Don't hate people for their political beliefs. Just be nice, guys. Please don't end the world. I'm loving this podcast and stand-up comedy thing. Please don't ruin this for me. I beg you. But, yeah, the debate was obviously interesting to say the least. I didn't even watch it. I had a comedy set that night, which was not great because the audience wasn't even there. I mean, the audience was so empty because everyone was watching the debate. It was like a Super Bowl. I mean, I didn't even know these debates were that popular, but people were watching them in bars. I'm sure you guys saw the videos across the United States. People were watching them in bars, at restaurants. There was watch parties. Like it was the Super Bowl. It was crazy. But obviously the iconic moment of Trump saying that they were eating the dogs and cats in Ohio. And I personally was unaware we had a Chinatown in Ohio. I didn't know that. But honestly, it just doesn't matter to me because I'm voting for whoever the vendors tell me to vote for. So I'll be at peace with myself with that decision. I'm excited to go to Seattle this weekend. I'll be going to Mount Rainier to do a little bit of hiking and adventuring, and then also just hang out in Seattle, which is such a beautiful city. Not really, but it is pretty over there on the west side. I hate to admit, it probably is prettier than the east side over here in Spokane, but could not live in Seattle. Average home is probably $900,000, and it's just stinky and rainy and wet, and not for me. Too expensive. Not worth it. But it is fun to explore and visit for maybe a week until you get too tired of it. So I'm going there this weekend with my best friend. We're going to drive down there. It's only about 4.5 hours. Climb Mount Rainier. Probably going to start Chaz again. We were actually talking about that. We're going to cut off a block of Seattle again and just overthrow it and kill the small businesses. Because we need that again. I think it was 4 years since the last one. Actually, it was. It's 4 years since the last Chaz. So we're going to do a Chaz revival. Chaz reunion. We're going to call up some of the old leaders, bail them out of jail, and just start another Chaz in Seattle for the weekend. We're going to get that going, and then we're going to leave it because we have to get back for work on Monday. So if you're in Seattle, catch us there. Just for a little bit of fun news, next week I should have my first guest on the podcast. I have that scheduled and set up, so I'm excited for that. These solo podcasts are really difficult. Doing a solo podcast is really hard. Just talking into a microphone and a camera by yourself. You have to think of everything to say for half an hour, 45 minutes, edit it, to do all the graphics, all the stuff. I don't mean to complain, but chasing the dream. I'm here by myself again. My sound guy is still escaping the United States government, the federales. They've now audited his entire tax form and everything, so he's kind of screwed. But been staying in close communication with him. He's under an alias right now. I believe he's in. I'm going to say something to throw off the feds. Just kidding. I'm not going to tell you where he is, but he's out of the United States. You're not catching him. Yeah, he's not here today. He hasn't been here in a while. I have not seen or spoke to him in a long time. I don't even know who he is. I never had a sound guy. Our last very, very fun story for the evening is coming from New York City. Of course, we only covered 2 cities on this podcast, Los Angeles and New York City. That is it. Occasionally Chicago. But that is it. New York City and Los Angeles are 2 favorite cities with all the news stories because of their status, if you will. Police say a pair took an NYC subway train on a joyride and crashed it. They've arrested 1 teen with 1 on the run. I'll show the pictures up here. Very particular fellows. Police have arrested a teen girl they say took an empty New York City subway train on a brief joyride before they crashed it and fled. They are looking for a male companion they believe was also pictured on the train. How does this even happen? I'm guessing it's the underground subway trains. How do you take it for a joyride when it's only on a track? You can only go straight. I don't even think they can reverse. How is that a joyride? You're just going in a straight line underground. Maybe it's kind of fun. I don't know. Riding them isn't super fun. Last time when I was in New York City, last time isn't the only time I ever went, we rode that thing all the time. I mean, I think everybody does, right? It's cheaper than Uber and stuff, but it's pretty smelly and gross down there. And one night, on our final night, I walk into the train and nobody thought to warn me. There's a pile of puke on the floor. I don't know if I've told this story already. I might have already told this story. There's a pile of yak on the subway floor, and I walk right into it. And then I see everybody's faces go, oh, and I was like, what? Tell me this is soup. Please tell me someone spilled the soup can. No, someone threw up on the floor, and I walked right into it. And it smelled so bad. And the guy next to me was like, oh, man, he was like I don't know what he was. Not from here. He was an immigrant. He had an accent, but he was like, dude, shouldn't have stepped there. I'm like, why didn't you warn me? Hey, before you walk, hey, dude, hey, don't step right there, puke. Go to the next door. I would have waited for the next train. I would have been 15 minutes late to whatever I had to do if someone would have just been kind enough to warn me. But no, I walked right into it. My best friend somehow evaded it. I don't know how he did. Maybe he was actually looking down. I usually look up parallel. I'm 6'1", so I don't really see the floor. But yeah, I walked right into that, and it stunk so bad. And as soon as the train stopped, me, my best friend, and that guy that was sitting there, I mean, everyone was sitting on the opposite side of the train car. And no one even, yeah. So that's New York City for you. They truly are just not the kindest people. But after the train stopped, I ran off, and I was walking, like rubbing my feet on the floor, took my shoes off, like smacked them on the ground. I didn't have any paper towels or anything in my bag, so I had to wear those the whole time. And we went to a separate train car, and what a traumatic event. Anyways, back to the story. 2 teens stole a subway train and went on a joyride. Surveillance photos released by the New York Police Department on Tuesday show one person dressed in all pink, including a pink shower cap, and another in a blue tank top. Now, given this picture, when I saw this, I'm not convinced that that is a male. These are really bad photos, obviously. These are surveillance photos. Now, the one on the right in blue is obviously a male, but the one on the left, I definitely thought that was just a dude dressed up as a girl or whatever. It's 2024. I can't judge. I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying. But given these looks, don't want to point fingers or start any rumors, but I'm going to say they are something that rhyme with instruments. Illegal instruments, if you will. Police arrested the 17-year-old girl. They have charged her with criminal mischief and reckless endangerment. The pair boarded an unoccupied train parked on the Briarwood subway station in Queens just after midnight on September 12th. So that was before my friend was there. So he missed the joyride. He could have been part of it. And somehow got it running. Police said in news release. How? How do you sneak onto one of these things and get it running? A 17-year-old girl? I couldn't even figure that out. And I have a driver's license. Maybe I could. I don't know. But have you ever seen an airplane cockpit? I imagine that that's what they look like. All sorts of buttons and levers and stuff. Don't you need a key? This is New York City. Didn't we just have a tragic event happen there 24 years ago? This is the day after 9/11 too. And their security hasn't upped at all. This is nuts. I don't know what kind of crazy terrorist mischief you can do with a train car, but you could crash it with a bunch of people on board. I guess it was empty because they said that unoccupied train here. Yeah, so I didn't even know those things were left unoccupied either. Where do they park those things? That is a serious question. Do they have just a train park underground somewhere? Clearly she figured it out. They crashed it into another parked train and ran, police said. It was unclear how much damage the prank caused. Prank? Is that what we're labeling this now? A prank? 2 teens hijacked and crashed a subway. And that's a prank? What, they film it on YouTube? If I hijack my neighbor's car and run it into a Planned Parenthood, is that a prank? It seems like they're really underplaying the story. Possibly because, like I said, might be illegal immigrants. Might be. Not saying they are. Not spreading rumors. From the pictures and from what we've heard from New York City, we obviously know what's going on over there. It would not be that far-fetched to guess that they are illegal immigrants, okay? Not being a racist thing. It's just a observational guess. If 2 white dudes hijacked a bicycle and ran over a Harris Walls political sign, it would be domestic terrorism. So I don't know how this story isn't bigger. Obviously, I think it just happened the 12th, but this story is very short. I mean, there's not a whole lot to work. That was it. I just read the entire story. So not giving very many details. A little suspicious, if you ask me. I'd like to know more, but don't even know the names. They haven't caught the other boy, it looks like. I'll catch him. I should have texted my buddy when he was there, be like, hey, look out for this dude. Because New York City's only 10 million people. It's not that hard to find one dude, right? How hard could it be? I had a comedy set on 9/11, which was very interesting. It was Wednesday. And that crowd, there's actually more people. This totally sums up America in 2024. There was more people in attendance at the show on Wednesday, 9/11, than there was on Tuesday during the presidential debate. At least 10, 20 more people. So that's what they chose to do on 9/11 in remembrance, is go to a comedy show. And every single comic, without fail, had a 9/11 joke. And the audience got real tired after the first 5. Real tired. I don't know why people continue to do them. It was pretty obvious that wasn't getting laughs. But as a comic, you think yours is funnier. They're all unique. That's what was crazy. Just 20 unique 9/11 jokes. What a night for America. Am I right? Yeah, I didn't choose to have a comedy set on 9/11. That was the club's choice. Don't come after me, okay? I'm American. Never forget. I feel like a decent amount of stuff has happened in the last 2 weeks since the last episode that I recorded and had to scrap. So I can't remember entirely what I talked about in that one. Obviously, it wasn't important enough to remember. But I got to see Theo Vaughn last week on the 12th. That was a fun time. I used to work at the Spokane Arena. I used to work at a place inside the Spokane Arena, and I would enter backstage for work every single time. It was pretty cool. The exact same entrance where the performers came in. Backstage, downstairs. I had to go through security still. I don't know if the performers do. I imagine they do. I don't know. Maybe they just trust you because you're the performer. You're not going to bring a bomb, right? But it was so easy. Let me tell you. I probably shouldn't spread this information, but it's not that hard to get backstage and sneak around the arena. The security are all just minimum wage, middle-aged people with 3 jobs. They don't care. Okay? There's a few of them that do. You know, like the high schoolers, the JROTC. There's a few of those. You know, they'd be like, hey, they actually care about their job and their dignity of the whatever. But most of them don't. They're not paying attention. They just want to get off just like you. They want to go home. They're getting paid $16 an hour. So there is a lot of them around every corner. But when I worked there, I mean, sometimes I'd have my shirt on and sometimes I wouldn't. And you could argue they recognize me, but I mean, hundreds of staff and, you know, different nights, Monday through Sunday. So it's actually not that hard to get backstage down there. I obviously worked there, so I had permission, went up and down there all the time. And I got to see some of the performers, like Journey was there. Got to see some of their guitarists and whatnot. Fluffy, I didn't see him, but anytime anyone ever comes there, I get there an hour or 2 hours early and walk backstage, and sometimes I see them down there. But I don't want to be like those fanboys that run up to them because I could probably get in trouble for that. But yeah, sometimes you get to catch them down there, and it's super cool. So I was thinking about sneaking back there to Theo Von. I thought about it, and be honest. Easily could have snuck my friend group in. It's not hard. But don't can tell him that. Don't work there anymore. Probably wouldn't work. Probably would, to be honest, though. I know my ways. I'm not going to spill my secrets. Not going to spill any secrets. And this is all a joke, by the way, so don't come after me if you work for the arena. Very excited for my trip this weekend to Seattle. Even more excited for my trip to Florida next month. So any Florida people, I know there's one of them. Maybe come see me out there in Fort Lauderdale. Still working on the details of the clubs. I know there's lots of clubs, but I don't know what nights their open mics are and stuff. So to figure that out. But I will find out. I will do the work. Let's just hope the world doesn't end November 4th or 5th, whenever election is. I don't know when it is, but let's hope we can make it to December. It's Christmas time, Thanksgiving. Let's make it to Thanksgiving at least. Got to do some Black Friday shopping to do. I haven't done Black Friday shopping in a long time. I have a very funny bit about Black Friday. I can't wait to tell. But I'm waiting till at least November to tell it. It's not going to make much sense to tell it right now in September. One of my first jokes I ever writ, and I'm very excited to tell it. So please, if you're listening to this, let us just stay till Thanksgiving, at least. Christmas time would be great. New Year's, we should just keep making a day over and over again. Valentine's Day, just keep going until we can end the world in, like, I don't know, 10 years at least. Probably be good timing, but or never. I'm enjoying this. I like the podcast and the comedy and stuff. My life is, it's looking up for once, okay? Let me enjoy this. Let us all enjoy this. At cadenkaiserman on Instagram, at cadenkaiserman. Sorry, my last name is so confusing. It's not Kaiserman, it's Kaiserman. It's hard to spell, I know. But follow me on there for my link tree to my Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, everything. Posting updates, shows, funny clips, yada, yada, yada. Podcast stuff, you know the drill. Follow me over there. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to vote for whoever the vendors tell you to vote for. Go watch that video as I did. Have a good night.